In this video, I'm gonna show you how I grew Exploding Topics from 0 to 400,000 visitors per month within a couple of years. And in fact, over the last couple of months, we've grown by like 50%, which is just crazy. When I first started the blog, I never thought it would grow this fast. I planned out, all the keywords, the content, and I thought it would do well, but I never thought it would grow like this. In this video, I'm gonna show you how we got from 0 to 400,000 visitors a month, and I'm gonna show you my plan for getting from 400,000 to 1 million. A lot of the traffic is top of the funnel, but it does convert well. We're adding like 6,000 new email subscribers a month. We're getting like 600 new trials a month. So the first thing that made the biggest difference to help us get to 400,000 visitors a month, the templates. This is something that I sort of adapted from Backlinko. When I was writing for Backlinko, whenever I found a topic or a keyword that I wanted to cover, I didn't just reinvent the wheel every time. I wasn't like, what would be the best way to write about this? I tried to fit it into an existing template that I already used. So for example, when I wanted to write about voice search, I was like, oh, this would be perfect for a definitive guide. So I busted out the definitive guide template, filled in all the blanks, sent it to the designer, all that stuff. That was that. And in fact, if you look at Backlinko, most of the posts fall into like 6 or 7 templates. That's basically how I grew that site. And with Exploding Topics, it's even more extreme than that. Like 90% of our traffic comes from like 4 templates. It's really a matter of finding a template that works and then scaling it up as much as possible. So for example, one of our most successful templates have been startup list posts. When we launched Exploding Topics, we realized pretty early on that a big part of our customer base were VCs and investors. And what do they want? Startups. Which startups are growing, which startups can be invested in. So they search for things in Google like fintech startups and SaaS startups. So we created these startup list posts, which were more or less 25 to 50 startups, along with their growth and Exploding Topics, how much they've raised, when they were founded, and so just basic info about them. We just scaled that up. So we just filled in the blank for startups, and we made maybe like 50 or 60 or 70 of these within a few months. They're really easy to produce because unlike every time you come up with a topic, having to reinvent the wheel and think, what's the best way to approach this? What's the search intent? You find a template first and then you create topics around them. So we're able to create 50 or 60 of these startup list posts in different industries. Another one that's worked well for us are trend list posts. So people are searching for like business trends, fintech trends, or even SaaS trends. We just found this trends template and just filled in the blank in terms of the topic. And we're able to create maybe like 100 of those. So that's right there, like 150 or 60 blog posts with 2 templates. That's how powerful templates can be. When you work with templates, it's just so much easier to create content at scale versus having to start over every time you write something new. So the second thing that has helped grow our site is a blog landing page. If you have a blog on your site, instead of having a normal blog feed, you have a curated page that is a landing page to your best stuff and the stuff you want to rank the most. So in the case of Exploding Topics, we had a blog feed for a long time. And once we replaced it with a blog landing page, it helped a lot in terms of traffic. First of all, it helps funnel people from your blog to landing pages where they're likely to convert. You can say, okay, I have these 5 pages that tend to convert really well. Let me put those at the top of the blog landing page. That way, every time someone goes to the blog, they're more likely to click on those. The other reason it's important is because you can funnel authority to key pages that you want to rank. So if you have like 10 pages you want to rank, if they're on the blog feed, they're going to get buried way far into the feed. Every time you publish them, they get further and further back. But when they're on the blog landing page, they're one link away from your homepage, basically, right? People click from like homepage to blog, and then the blog posts are right there, and it sends authority to those pages. So whenever there's a page that I want to rank that's, let's say 5, and I want to get it to 2 or 1, I'll put it on the blog landing page, and sometimes I notice a nice little lift just from that. So the next thing that made a huge difference was using reverse outreach. So I have a whole video on reverse outreach and how it works and all the stuff I'm learning from using it to get links from just crazy sites on autopilot. So if you want to learn more about that, I have a link to that video in the description. But basically how it works is you're creating content specifically designed to get in front of bloggers and journalists, and then they link to you. So instead of just spamming thousands of people and asking them to link to you or asking to write a guest post, you're creating resources that are specifically designed to get links, and more importantly, ranking those pieces of content for keywords that bloggers and journalists are searching for. That way, when they're writing an article or editing an article, they get in front of your site and they're more likely to link to you. For example, one of our best performing pieces in terms of reverse outreach is a post about mobile internet traffic. And it's literally like the percentage of traffic that's mobile along with some other stats. And creating this page was pretty easy because every month we just update the number and we include some other supporting stats. And every time someone searches for mobile internet traffic or what percentage of traffic is mobile, we're number 1, usually in the featured snippet. And the major benefit of that is that these bloggers and journalists, when they're writing about how important it is to optimize your site for mobile, and you're the resource that they're going to use. Now, even though we do do link to the source, most people are too busy to go into that. They just link to the first resource that they find. And that's sort of the magic of reverse outreach. You're not really creating data. Like with Backlinko, I created these huge industry studies that cost thousands of dollars and were super complicated. And they were actually really effective. I would do them again if I could think of a similar one I could do for exploring topics, but these are much easier to create because you're just using existing data and putting it in sort of a bite-sized format that's just easier for people to find and understand. So that leads us to our next thing that has worked really well for me, scaling content. So with just like a sort of a mishmash of a couple templates and a few writers, I was able to get Exploring Topics to 100,000 visitors a month. What got us from 100K to 400K was scaling content. So as you know, if you followed me back in the Backlinko days, I'm all about quality over quantity. Like with Backlinko, I published one post every month or so and stuck to that schedule for years and it worked great. But I realized the reason for that was, first of all, quality was paramount, but I was writing everything. When you remove that barrier and you can have tons of people writing for you, it makes it a lot easier to scale up and keep the standards really high, which is the sort of the balance that I'm trying to do right now. So we went from one post a week at Exploring Topics to 4 to 5 a week where we're at now. I don't really plan on scaling above that. I feel like that's enough. And I feel like once you start getting a little too cheeky, as they say in England, and trying to do like 2 posts a day or 3 posts a day, quality is just inevitably gonna decline. It's really hard to maintain that level of quality and do like, 20 posts a week or something. So I'm perfectly happy with 4 to 5 a week. So how was I able to scale 4x within a really short period of time? Like we're just doing once a week. The first thing was hiring writers. I created a process for hiring great writers on Upwork. I have a whole video on this if you want to check that out. But basically how it works is you hire multiple writers at one time for a test project and then hire the best one. So instead of hiring someone, seeing how they do, okay, that didn't work out, posting another job, hiring someone else, which can take weeks, you hire 5, 6, 7 people at once and one person will stand out as the winner and you go with them. So really the secret to scaling up has been finding really good writers. And then when you find one that's really good at one template, just keep sending them topics in that template and they just get the hang of it. And that's how we have a huge backlog, even with 4 to 5 posts a week. So how am I gonna get from 400,000 visitors a month to 1 million and maybe even more in the future? Well, the number one thing is I'm going to experiment with new templates that are a bit different and outside my comfort zone. So for example, one piece of content that we published recently that's done really well was a list of top Google searches in the world. And these are just like, YouTube, Google, everyone's familiar with, but people do wanna know what are the top Google searches. Now this is super top of the funnel stuff, right? 0.001% of people are gonna convert, but it can bring in traffic at scale. And this is something that I thought, oh, this would be like a one-off. I just wanted to try it and see how it did. It did well. And now I'm always thinking, how can I turn that into a template and create 10, 20, 40, 50 of those? So now we have a similar structure that's just trending topics. We have another one that's trending topics on TikTok. We have another one with the most searched people on Google. So in order to get from 400,000 to 1 million, every time we publish something, I need to make sure that it can be turned into a template. And that's really one of the things that I'm focused on right now. Another thing that's gonna be huge to get to 1 million visitors a month is updating the existing content library that you have. So once you start scaling up content, you realize really quickly you have a library of content and you can either let it rot and let it die, or you can keep it up to date. Now, in your industry, you might write super evergreen stuff, right? Like you might be in health and fitness and something about how to grow your biceps is not really gonna change that much from month to month. But in our case, we're writing about trends. So we need to really be on the ball when it comes to keeping stuff updated. So we actually have someone that sort of serves as an update czar. He goes through the content library every day and goes through piece by piece and makes sure everything is up to date and does like 2 posts a day and reviews them. And over time, you get through your whole library within 3 to 4 months to make sure everything's up to date. Now, he doesn't necessarily update everything that often. It depends if there's something worth updating, but everything gets reviewed within a short period of time. And that's gonna be even more important because to go from 400,000 to 1 million, new content will be a big part of that, but most of it will be optimizing your existing stuff. Because a lot of times when you hit 400,000 visitors a month, a lot of stuff's ranking number 1, but you also have a lot of stuff that's like 5, 6, 7, 4, and getting that to 1 can double, triple, 10x the traffic depending on the keyword. You're gonna do that from links and also from updating content. The last thing that I'm gonna do is really focus more on internal linking. So this is something I haven't put a lot of emphasis on since I launched a blog because we've just been so focused on pumping out really good, great content that is a perfect fit for search intent and focusing on these templates. But as your library grows, you realize there's tons of opportunities to internal link between all this content. And it's just something I haven't done because I haven't had the time. So this is something I'll probably do is have like a process in place or maybe even hire someone to help help oversee making sure that all our internal linking is sort of in place, which it really isn't right now. Yeah, so to quickly recap what's helped grow the Exploding Topics site from 0 to 400,000 visitors a month, the number one thing has been content templates. Sticking to a few formats that are proven to work. You have to experiment and try a few out to see which ones work. But once you find one, spin that up into 10, 20, 50, 100, maybe even 1,000, depending on how you wanna go about it. That has made a huge difference for us. The second thing is reverse outreach. A bunch of content is great, but if you don't have links, you're not gonna rank, period. And the best way to get links, in my opinion, is reverse outreach, where you're ranking for stuff people are linking to, you get in front of them, and they're more likely to link to your site than someone else because they found you first. And then once you sort of have this early process in place, you have some templates that are working, you have some links coming in, the next step is scale. Because if you want to get to 1 million visitors a month, you got to do it at scale. It's hard to get to 1 million visitors a month with 10 pages or 100 pages. You need to talk about hundreds or thousands. That's where scaling content comes in. Scaling content really comes down to enough writers to produce the content, and then editing to make sure it's at a high standard, and the process to make sure the pipeline is moving along. Once you get that stuff going, it kind of goes by itself. And again, templates help here too, because the writers that you have someone that focuses on this template, another person that focuses on this template, another guy that focuses on this template. You assign it to them, they can produce it really easily because they're probably opening the last thing they wrote for you and just filling in the blanks as much as they can. Yeah, so that's it for me. Now I'd like to hear from you. What are you doing to get more traffic to your site? Are you creating a lot of content? Are you not creating any content? Are you using programmatic SEO? Using AI? Either way, I'd like to hear from you. Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.